Hello everyone, this is part 11 of What If Naruto Was Like Gaara, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Last time. It's a Baikochu beetle egg. Once it hatches it'll lead us right to Naruto, said Jiraiya, placing Naruto's headband within the cage. Now then, as for this shirt, it was Naruto's, but he wasn't attacked, if that's what you're thinking, said Jiraiya, examining the shirt. How can you be sure? Asked Hinata anxiously. Because if he was attacked by a ninja there would be blood on the shirt, and if he were attacked by a wild animal it is most likely the tears would be jagged rather than clean sped like they are. The only thing that I can think of is he outgrew it, said Jiraiya flatly. Suddenly a loud boom of thunder clapped the area. The ninjas quickly set up camp and waited out the rain and the soon-to-hatch beetle. The four ninjas watched with bated breath, as the egg that Jiraiya had found started to split open, revealing a slimy titan worm. Excellent, said Jiraiya with a grin. That's the beetle that will find Naruto, said Kiba, choking back a laugh. No, you idiot, this is only its larva stage, it will soon enter its pupa stage, said Jiraiya as the worm had already formed a wall of silk around it. HHHOOWWWMMMUUUCHLLLOONNNGGGEEER. Asked Hinata. Well, under normal circumstances it normally takes a full day for a Baikochu to mature, said Jiraiya, examining the pupa. Jiraiya, I have a question. Why don't you summon the Death Toad more often instead of Gamabunter? Asked Kakashi. Simple, while Gamabunter is by all rights the boss toad and his chakra is far superior to the Death Toad's, he doesn't require payment, said Jiraiya. You pay the Death Toad? Said Kakashi. Jiraiya nodded. It's just like when a ninja is asked to go on a mission, only instead he's a toad, said Jiraiya. What does he ask for, flies? Said Kiba as he absent-mindedly stroked Akamaru's head. No, he asks for money, the price depends on how many people he gets to K, said Jiraiya. Sounds like the toad version of Naruto, said Kiba as Akamaru lifted his head from the ground and rested it on his lap. In a sense he is like Naruto, I suppose, said Jiraiya, laughing. Deep within the forest, a few miles from where the group rested, a ninja stared into a bowl of water that showed the four of them. He was wearing a dark blue bandana over his hair. His face was covered in a dark blue mask that was curled into a smile. His green eyes watched the group from within the bowl as the water swirled. Yes, show me where the Kyuubi's container is, said the man as the group waited for the egg to hatch. The group sat around the cage that held the Baikochu pupa. It soon started to split, then a long trunk-like nose poked out of the hardened silk-like substance. Then a head with two dark blue eyes that looked like it was taken off of a rhinoceros beetle appeared. Then a body that looked like it was off of a croach pulled itself from within the cocoon. It took a whiff of Naruto's headband as soon as it drew breath. Then it opened its wings and tried to fly off, only to meet the lid that kept it in place. Jiraiya looked to the other three, who each gave him a nod to go ahead. He then pulled off the lid and released the beetle that took off into the forest, followed closely by the four ninjas. They followed the beetle for hours before it finally came to a small house that was well protected by an array of traps, ninjutsu, and genjutsu. The group, with the help of Hinata's Byakugan, carefully avoided all of the traps. Then they reached the house. It was a small log cabin with a rock chimney that was held together by a mixture of mud, grass, and straw. The group cautiously walked closer to the door. Kakashi raised his hand to knock on the door when it burst open. At last, now I will have my vengeance upon him for what he did to my team, thought the stranger as he dumped the water onto the ground. Then he disappeared in a puff of smoke. A sinister laugh echoed throughout the area as he headed towards Naruto's house. The door opened to reveal a boy about 16 years old. His blonde hair was long and sticking out on end. He wasn't wearing a shirt, showing his well-toned abs and chest. His arms were as large as small coconuts. He had a pair of loose-fitting black sweatpants, a pair of blue toeless sandals. He had a compound bow slung across his back, with a quiver of arrows strapped to his hip with a belt. His face had 3 whisker marks on each cheek, 2 deep blue eyes. A look of a calm surprise showed upon his face. Well, teammate, Jiraiya, what brings you to my end of the woods? Asked Naruto. Naruto, we've been sent to find you, said Kiba excitedly. So the council finally decided to end my existence, said Naruto coldly. No, Naruto, it's nothing like that, on the contrary, said Kakashi, pulling out a scroll and handing it to him. The council will grant you amnesty, if you return to the village and become a ninja of Konoha once again, said Kakashi. Naruto, who had been reading the scroll, started to laugh. Soon the legendary sucker is the Hokage, my how the mighty have fallen, said Naruto, rolling up the scroll. So they want me back, and with a rank up to boot, said Naruto. Kakashi nodded. Naruto threw him the scroll. Thanks but no thanks, I've given up being a ninja, said Naruto. This caused everyone around him to have shocked looks on their faces. Naruto, you can't be serious, said Kiba. And why is that? Asked Naruto, crossing his arms. Because, said Kiba, unable to find a suitable reason. NNNAAAARRRUUUTTTOTT the VV Village NEEDSYU, said Hinata. Hinata, even if I wanted to come back, I wouldn't be able to pass any ninja trials. I haven't practiced any ninjutsu in 6 years, said Naruto. We could help you, train you back to the way you used to be, said Kiba enthusiastically. Naruto sighed. Kiba, the reason I haven't trained is because I have no wish to return, said Naruto. What's the QB have to say about all of this? Asked Jiraiya. The last time we spoke was the day I left. He said I should go back and destroy everyone in the village. But I knew that it wouldn't do any good to destroy the village. What would it bring me if I destroyed? So the day I left was the day I washed my hands of the village of Konoha, said Naruto, turning to close the door. He then turned back to the group of ninjas. Sorry I'd invite you in, but I'm going to get some food for the next few days and I don't know when I'll be back, said Naruto, walking away. When two kunai landed at his feet, a ninja dressed in a black stealth suit appeared before them. Who are you? Asked Naruto. I've been sent by the village hidden in the sound with an offer for you to join us, said the ninja, holding out a scroll identical to the one Kakashi sent him. But since you're no longer willing to be a ninja, I've also been ordered to kill you, said the ninja, drawing several kunai from a leg holster. Naruto sighed. Just don't harm them, he said as he stretched his arms out wide. This caused the ninja to laugh. Just don't harm them, he said in a mocking tone. I think after I K you will K them just because you asked me not to, said the ninja as a smile curled under his mask. Naruto smiled. I don't think they'll let you, said Naruto, not moving. The ninja yelled in rage, then threw the kunai at Naruto. He closed his eyes, expecting the feeling of pain that comes from being hit by a razor-sharp kunai. Instead he heard the sound of clinking metal. He opened his eyes to see Kakashi standing in front of him. Naruto, get out of here, we'll cover you, said Kakashi. Naruto laughed. Kakashi, why don't you four go back to the village? And you, he said, pointing to the sound ninja. You can S. As he said this, a red aura surrounded his body, causing everyone but the sound ninja to back away. Naruto then ran towards the ninja and in a blinding speed shot arrow after arrow at the ninja, pining him against a tree. With an arrow in his palms and feet, the ninja let out a cry from the pain that was racing through his body. His eyes were wide with fear. What are you? Said the ninja. I'm your worst nightmare, said QB Naruto. He then drew a clawed hand and thrust it through the ninja's chest, crushing his heart. The ninja's blood flowed down the bark of the tree in red streams as if the tree were actually crying. Naruto then pulled out his blood-covered hand, gave it a sharp jerk, causing the blood and gore to splatter from his hand onto the ground as the red chakra receded from his body. He started to breathe heavily. Haven't done that for a while, he puffed. Then he pulled his arrows from the ninja's limbs, allowing the body to hit the ground with a soft thud. He then turned to the group behind him. I'll say it again, I'm not a ninja anymore. He then turned and walked into the forest, leaving the group staring in awe. Well, what do we do now? Asked Kiba, sitting on Naruto's porch. We wait for him to come back, said Kakashi, leaning against a tree. BBB, but HHHESSS said T that he WW wasn't GG gonna come with us, said Hinata. Yeah, and he also said that he hadn't practiced ninjutsu since he left, said Kiba. Kiba, that little display right there should have showed you that Naruto hasn't stopped his training, said Jiraiya in an annoyed tone. Kiba only stared at the spot where the corpse now lay. If that wasn't 1,000th of the power he's more than likely obtained, I'll eat my books, said Jiraiya. Naruto walked silently through the forest. His footsteps were silent thanks to his many years of training as a ninja. He could smell a deer. Not too far from where he was standing, he jumped to a tree branch that was at least 20 feet in the air. He slowed his breath to nearly nothing as he approached his target. It was a large doe. Naruto drew an arrow onto his bow. He then left it fly. The arrow hit the deer, killing her instantly. Naruto then dropped to the area. He then pulled out a 6-inch knife and began to gut the deer. After he finished, he picked the doe up as if she weighed next to nothing, then walked back to his house, a large grin on his face from the satisfaction of AK. He suddenly fell on all fours, clutching his heart as a pain shot through it. The red chakra from early began to engulf him as two tails formed behind him. He looked at his arms to see thick red fur start to cover them. He closed his eyes and the red chakra and the fur disappeared. He started to breathe heavily as the warm air filled his lungs with dust from the ground. Damn it, he thought as he dug his fingers into the dirt. His breathing started to become slow and steady as his body stopped aching. He then got to his feet and dusted himself off. He turned to the gutted doe, picked it up and walked back to his house, hoping that they had left. Kiba, Hinata, Kakashi, and Jiraiya scanned the area for any sign of Naruto's return. There was a rustling sound coming from the bushes. Then Naruto come through with a large doe thrown over his back. "See, you guys are still here," he said in an irritated tone. "Naruto, we need you to come back with us," said Hinata without a single stutter, which surprised everyone but Naruto. "Sorry, Lady Hyuga, but the Naruto you knew is no more," said Naruto, walking behind his cabin. They followed him. "Naruto, surely you don't want to continue living in this dump," said Jiraiya, looking the house over. "Why not? It's better than what I used to live in," said Naruto coldly as he started to skin the deer. A foul stench filled the air. As he sd the tarsal glands of the deer, then he grabbed its end and started to twist it. A sickening crunch was heard as it snapped off. He then threw the head and skin into a fire pit that was beside him. He then hung the deer on a nearby tree to allow the blood to ds onto the ground. "That's gonna take a bit, but the fish and tenderloins should be alright," he said as he cut large pieces of meat from within the deer. "Anyone for some supper?" he asked, turning to the ninjas as he walked to his house. They entered to see a single room with a small bed that was made of a few long tree branches, a stone fireplace and a table with a couple of chairs. "Sorry, I don't get much company coming through here," said Naruto, pulling out a pan and a grate from under his bed. He then placed the grate inside the fireplace. Then he walked back outside and came back in with an armload of wood. He placed the wood underneath the grate. Then he grabbed a can and a box of matches from beside the fireplace. He lit a match, then placed it under the wood. Within seconds it burst into flames. "In case you're wondering why I didn't use any kindling to start the fire, it's because I soaked the wood in fat," said Naruto. He then placed the pan on the grate, then opened the can in his hand. Then he scooped out some fat and threw it onto the pan. He pulled out his knife and chopped the tenderloins into smaller pieces and threw them onto the pan once the fat had melted. Soon the smell of frying deer meat filled the cabin. Once he was sure the meat was cooked, he placed the pan onto the table. A low hissing sound was heard as the hot metal touched the wood. "Eat as much as you want," said Naruto, helping himself to some of the meat. The others nodded in agreement. Then they each took a piece of meat and bit into it. Their eyes popped open. "Naruto, since when can you cook?" said Jiraiya after he'd swallowed his bite of meat. "Since I was born," said Naruto, helping himself to another piece of meat. They stared at him, knowing what he'd meant with those words. After they had finished eating, Kakashi turned to Naruto. "Naruto, are you going to come back with us?" asked Kakashi. Naruto sighed. "For the last time, Kakashi, I will not return to the village," said Naruto. "They will have to bring you back by force," said Kiba, getting to his feet. Naruto sighed. "If we must do this, could we please do it outside? I don't want my furniture to be destroyed," said Naruto, grabbing the pan and setting it underneath his bed again. They all nodded in agreement, then walked outside the cabin. Naruto then led him to a small clearing not too far from his house. He walked to one side while the others stayed behind. He then turned to face them. He glared at them as his once blue eyes turned blood red. His whisker marks had become more defined. His canines grew past his lips. His fingernails became sharp and claw-like. The red chakra covered his body as 4 tails appeared behind him. This gave everyone a bit of a shock. "What's the matter? You surprised that I haven't transformed yet?" asked QB Naruto. "He's master the 4th tail," said Jiraiya. To anyone in particular? Naruto fell on all fours as another tail formed behind him. His skin suddenly turned bright red as thick fur covered him. His ears lengthened into two long fox ears. His hands had become claws. His chakra tails had become real tails. Black rings encircled his now slanted eyes. The vertical pupils stared angrily at the ninjas standing before him. Remember when I said I hadn't practiced ninjutsu for the last 4 years? That's because I've been learning to control the Kyuubi, said Kyuubi Naruto, who looked like a miniature five-tailed fox. Last time. Then we'll have to bring you back by force, said Kiba, getting to his feet. Naruto sighed. If we must do this, could we please do it outside? I don't want my furniture to be destroyed, said Naruto, grabbing the pan and setting it underneath his bed again. They all nodded in agreement, then walked outside the cabin. Naruto then led him to a small clearing not too far from his house. He walked to one side while the others stayed behind. He then turned to face them. He glared at them as his once blue eyes turned blood red. His whisker marks had become more defined. His canines grew past his lips. His fingernails became sharp and claw-like. The red chakra covered his body as 4 tails appeared behind him. This gave everyone a bit of a shock. What's the matter? You surprised that I haven't transformed yet? Asked Kyuubi Naruto. He's master the 4th tail, said Jiraiya to anyone in particular. Naruto fell on all fours as another tail formed behind him. His skin suddenly turned bright red as thick fur covered him. His ears lengthened into 2 long fox ears. His hands had become claws. His chakra tails had become real tails. Black rings encircled his now slanted eyes. The vertical pupils stared angrily at the ninjas standing before him. Remember when I said I hadn't practiced ninjutsu for the last 4 years? That's because I've been learning to control the Kyuubi, said Kyuubi Naruto, who looked like a miniature five-tailed fox. The power that flowed off of Kyuubi Naruto caused the air to heat up rapidly as if someone had made a giant bonfire. The grass around him became dry and scorched as if it had been through a 3-month drought. The grass beneath his fox feet started to issue small wisps of black smoke as his chakra burned the ground. He looked upon his former team. As a smile curled upon his snout, showing rows of jagged sharp teeth, this caused his former teammates to back away slowly. Naruto, said Hinata in a whisper-like tone. This caused one of the fox's ears to twitch slightly. What's the matter, Hinata? Are you scared? Asked Kyuubi Naruto. Hinata backed away slowly as Kyuubi Naruto advanced closer to his prey. The ground hissed as steam issued from beneath his paws. Leaving behind black paw prints, he soon came upon the 4 ninjas, all of whom showed fear through their eyes. Kakashi pulled up his headband to reveal his Sharingan eye. Naruto, please just come back to the village quietly. We don't want to fight you, said Kakashi. At these words, Jiraiya stepped forwards. Naruto, if you wish to fight, then I shall be your first opponent, said Jiraiya in a serious tone that was unfitting to him. All right, Sannin, you shall be the first to said Kyuubi Naruto in the maniacal tone that they had heard many times before in their younger days. Jiraiya got into a fighting stance as Kyuubi Naruto ran towards him at a speed that even the Sharingan couldn't follow. Jiraiya's saucer-sized eyes looked to his now mangled right arm that was now covered in blood that sped from his fingertips. What's the matter, Sannin? Too fast for you? Asked Kyuubi Naruto from behind Jiraiya. His hot breath washed over the back of his end, causing his hair to stand on end. Here, allow me to slow down for you, said Kyuubi Naruto, appearing in front of the Sannin. His tail swished through the air with anticipation. The air around Jiraiya began to shiver, then a vortex appeared before him. Wind style, wind blade vortex jutsu, said Kyuubi Naruto without a single hand sign. Jiraiya suddenly felt like his skin was on fire as it was violently opened from an invisible blade. After the jutsu was finished, he fell to the ground in a puddle of his own blood. He raised his head painfully to look at the fox creature. Jiraiya, you were my sensei and one of the few people who were kind to me. For that I shall make your death quick, said Kyuubi Naruto, raising his right claw. Then he held Jiraiya's heart. The fox stared frowning at the now Jiraiya. Then he was covered in a cloud of smoke and turned into a rock. Very clever, Jiraiya, thought Kyuubi Naruto as a small smirk appeared on his face. He then turned to face a nearby tree. Earth style, earth whirlpool jutsu, said Kyuubi Naruto without any hand signs again. Suddenly the ground around the tree began to twist as it sucked the tree down until only the top branches were sticking out. The branches suddenly turned into Jiraiya's head. Very clever, Jiraiya, but not clever enough. You see, the Kyuubi has the ability to see through jutsus like genjutsu and transformation jutsu, sad Kyuubi Naruto. The air around Jiraiya's head started to swirl. I haven't got to use this jutsu for a while, wind style, vacuum vortex jutsu, said Kyuubi Naruto. Jiraiya soon started to gasp for air, and then a small pop was heard as his head exploded, sending blood all over the area. No, Naruto, said Hinata as tears ran hot down her face and sped onto the grass. She then fell to the ground shaking. Her body was full to exploding with fear. What a waste, said Kyuubi Naruto, shaking his head as he turned to Team 8. This all could have been avoided if you four would have just left me alone, said Kyuubi Naruto, walking towards the group. Tsunade, who was hidden behind a mountain of paperwork, was looking at a very old photo album from the time when she herself was a genin. She took a sip from her tea. As she did, a small drop fell onto Jiraiya's face, smearing it to the point it wasn't recognizable. Could this be an ill omen? She thought as she carefully tried to clean the tea from the photo. Team 8 watched in horror as the fox advanced towards them. Fear laid heavily upon them to the point that they couldn't move. We're going to thought Kiba as he felt a Kamaru shake behind him. I'm going to give you three one last chance to leave now before I kill you, said Kyuubi Naruto. Nobody moved from where they were standing. Kyuubi Naruto sighed. You three were my most precious people. I will make your deaths quick, said Kyuubi Naruto as he advanced towards the group. When he felt a sharp pain in his chest, he fell to the ground clutching his heart. A burst of red chakra exploded from his body. Lady Tsunade, Team 8 has been gone for too long. It's time to send a search team to find them, said Shizune. I know, Shizune, but the problem is there isn't anyone left in the village to go and search for them, said Tsunade. What about asking the Sand for help? They've already sent many of their own ninja into battle. There ain't no way they'll send a group to go and look for three of our own, said Tsunade. Actually, the Kazekage asked if Naruto had been found not too long ago, said Shizune. Why would the Kazekage care as to whether or not we've found Naruto? Asked Tsunade. He didn't say, although he did get an evil glint in his eye, said Shizune. Well, if he wants to send his own team to find him, then by all means we'll hire him, said Tsunade. Yes, Lady Tsunade, said Shizune. She then walked out the door and disappeared. Tsunade turned to the window that showed the Hokage monument. They did some nice work with my face, she thought as she gazed blankly at the mountain that now had her face added to it. The chakra that exploded from Kyuubi Naruto was intense enough to cause some of the grass around him to catch fire. Hinata, Kiba, and Kakashi were starting to boil from the heat of the chakra. What's going on? Asked Kiba as Kyuubi Naruto roared from the pain in his chest. I'm not sure, Kiba, said Kakashi, holding up his arms to block the heat. Hinata didn't know what was making her do it, nor did she know why, but in spite of the overwhelming heat she moved forwards. The red chakra licked her face and cloths, scalding her cloths and exposed skin, then healed the skin only seconds later. She endured the pain like it wasn't really there and just kept walking towards the giant roaring fox. Naruto, whom had his eyes closed in an attempt to block out the pain, hadn't noticed Hinata standing only a few feet away from him. Soon she was right beside him. Her burns kept appearing and healing over and over again. She then raised a badly burned hand and placed it on his head. Kyuubi Naruto shivered slightly. Her touch seemed to have surprised him. Naruto started to stop shivering as the chakra receded to within the seal, leaving only the five-tailed fox, who looked up at Hinata angrily. He then smirked slightly and opened his mouth. Kakashi had only seconds to act as he ran towards Hinata and pulled her away just as a beam of red chakra shot from his mouth, grazing Kakashi's back. Once they were back beside Kiba, Kakashi fell to his knees as pain beyond measure shot through his body from where the chakra had hit him. Oh, come now, Kakashi, it would have been quick, said Kyuubi Naruto manically. He started to glow again as small orbs of red chakra appeared above him. Kyuubi Naruto opened his mouth and swallowed one while the other five floated near the tips of his tails. Then Kyuubi Naruto's entire body expanded to the point he couldn't move. The balls of chakra that floated above him was each the size of a child's power wheels. I don't own 'em either. Then Naruto opened his mouth as a beam of red chakra shot from it. Four more beams shot from the balls of chakra that floated above him. The beams met and became a giant beam that could have destroyed even Orochimaru's strongest barriers and him along with them. The three ninjas closed their eyes as they felt the heat from the chakra as it came closer. But the pain never came. They opened their eyes to see they weren't but they were surrounded by what appeared to be a mountain of sandstone. So Shakaku, we meet again, said Kyuubi Naruto as he stared at a man with dark red hair. The kaget for love was tattooed to his forehead. A giant gourd was strapped to his back. He wore a red and brown shirt with black pants. His eyes had dark circles around them, indicating that he'd had very little to no sleep for a great degree of time. Uzumaki, you must return to your village. They need your help, said Gaara in his usual monotone voice. Explain this to me, Shakaku. Why are you helping these wretched lowlifes? They are inferior to us, said Kyuubi Naruto. Uzumaki, I've learned the true value of life from our fight 4 years ago. You yourself once knew of that value, said Gaara in the same monotone voice. Humph, living with the humans has made you soft, Gaara. You've forgotten what it's like to have a heart of a beast, said Kyuubi Naruto with relish. No, Uzumaki, I have not forgotten what it is like to truly be one with your demon. It's maddening. You yourself must feel the pain of merging with your demonic counterpart, said Gaara. There is nothing gained without a little pain, said Kyuubi Naruto. No, Uzumaki, there are many things that don't require pain in order to be gained, like the love of another, said Gaara, rubbing his thumb over what appeared to be a ring. So the mighty Shakaku has become a human's pet, said Kyuubi Naruto, spitting on the ground. Uzumaki, I understand better than anyone in this forest the pain you've gone through, but know this: if you allow it to, the pain will drive you mad. Then you will truly turn into a monster, just as I was before I fought with you. Know this, Naruto, even a child can be brave when faced with a monster, said Gaara. Let me guess, Shakaku, you've got an actual apprentice, said Kyuubi Naruto in a semi-mocking tone. She was the only one of 30 to allow me to train her in the ways of ninja, said Gaara. And let me guess, you found love the most pitiful of all human emotions, said Kyuubi Naruto. Uzumaki, you yourself once knew love isn't love. What drove you to allow the Kyuubi to take control of your body the day we fought? Asked Gaara. Shakaku, what you say is true. I used to know love until the village that I had sworn to protect banished me, then threw a party to celebrate my leaving, said Kyuubi Naruto bitterly as he turned his attention to the pillar of sandstone that hid his team. They were among the ones who celebrated, said Kyuubi Naruto bitterly as tears streaked his fur-covered face. Uzumaki, you still know love. Why not give them another chance? Said Gaara. Shakaku, I no longer know love. All I know is fear, hate, and death, said Kyuubi Naruto. Then I have no choice but to show you the power that you once possessed the day we fought, said Gaara. As sand began to encircle his body, Kyuubi Naruto's tails twitched with the anticipation of Anther K. This time he'd make sure Shakaku was X. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.